In today's lesson, we're going to be looking at Numbers chapter 12. Numbers isn't necessarily a book of the Bible that we look at too often, but there are some really good narratives, some really good stories that are found in Numbers that I think are important for us to look at. Numbers chapter 12, if you're able to follow along with our Bible, that would be really good. You can check where I've perhaps added things, you can check where I've left things out, and you can let me know. So, in this story, you'll remember back in the beginning of Exodus when we're introduced to the character of Moses. Moses had two younger siblings, Miriam two older siblings, Miriam and Aaron. So Miriam and Aaron were involved with the leadership team. You could call it a leadership team of the people of Israel. And there came a time when Miriam and Aaron, Moses' brother and sister, came up to Moses and they were beginning to speak against Moses because he had married, according to the scriptures, a Cushite woman. And so they were against Moses for that reason. That poses a question. A Cushite woman. I thought Moses had married a girl from Midian. Remember the story in Exodus where Moses flees from Egypt? He's still son of Pharaoh. He kills an Egyptian and he flees from Egypt. And then he goes to Midian. He meets a man named Jethro, who is priest of Midian, and he marries Jethro's daughter. So that would mean Zipporah, Moses' wife, was a Midianite because her father was a Midianite. So Miriam and Aaron were upset with Moses because he married a Cushite woman. Now that is weird because if you're understanding of geography, Midian is to the east of Israel. Cush, the land of Cush, is south of Egypt in Africa. Totally different continents. They're not the same place. Cush and Midian are totally different locations. So was Zipporah the wife that that Miriam and Aaron were talking about? Well, that only could be possible one way if um, Jethro, Zipporah's father, had been born in what is present day Ethiopia, Old Cush, and immigrated north to Midian. That's possible, but it doesn't seem rather probable that an immigrant would become a priest within the region. So we rule that one out. Okay, there's another option that we could consider. Moses has two wives at the same time. He has Zipporah and he has this Cushite woman that Miriam and Aaron are upset about. And perhaps that could be a reason why they're upset. That doesn't wash with me as well either. Yeah, both of those scenarios are kind of sketchy. The third choice that I probably lean to is the fact that Zipporah had passed away. She's not mentioned around this story, nor is she mentioned any time chronologically after this story. So Moses, in any case, has married a second wife. His first wife had passed away, my assumption, and he is married again. So he has this Cushite wife, and Miriam and Aaron are upset about that. But they take that being upset with the Cushite wife to another level. They say, has the Lord really spoken only through Moses? Has the Lord not been able to speak through us? And why does Moses elevate himself over us? And they begin to speak against Moses in a number of areas. It's like when you've got one little thing to pick at, then you keep on picking and picking until it becomes a big issue. And it did become a big issue for Moses. The Bible then describes and gives Moses a character quality. The Bible says that of all the people who were alive at this time, Moses was the most meek. What is meek? Jesus talked about the meek inheriting the earth, but what does it mean to be meek? Meek is one when pressure is against you, you don't always just fly off the handle. Moses was able to be a solid, steady, um, press on kind of person, and he didn't get angry easily. Jesus was described meek, and obviously Jesus didn't get angry either. Very easy. Moses and Jesus both showed righteous anger, and Moses also at one time displayed an anger that wasn't righteous, and that was what kept him out of the promised land. So Moses was considered to be the most meek man that lived. And God comes after hearing Aaron and Miriam speak against Moses and says, I want you, the three of you, to come to the tent of meeting. The tent of meeting was the tabernacle, which we know so much about now. So they come to the three of them, come to the entrance of the tent of meeting. That would be after the common area, and they were outside the tent itself. And God descends in the form of a cloud upon that space, and God speaks to Moses and Aaron and Miriam. And God directly says that he speaks to prophets in dreams and visions. He speaks to Moses in a different way. He speaks to Moses as man to man, as face to face. Not that Moses could see God and look upon his face. And God directly calls Moses his chosen speaker. When he does that, he finishes, and the cloud ascends, and the three of them look at each other, and Miriam is covered with leprosy. Leprosy was a disease that was terminal in those days. It also meant that they had to be sent out from among the community. And so Miriam was diseased, and she would die of this disease. Aaron looks at his sister and he's overwhelmed with grief, recognizing his sin along with his sister, his sin and um, his foolishness. Really, he identifies his foolishness in speaking out against Moses, and he confesses his sin before Moses and before God, and pleads with Moses to ask God to remove the leprosy from Miriam. Miriam does have to go out from the camp. She goes out for 7 days, and then when she returns, assumedly the leprosy is not there because she's allowed back into the camp. So she's sent out once they recognize their foolishness and their sin. And then the Israelites are able to then move on to the next location closer to the promised land. So, what's the application for us today? Timothy is told that we need to be careful when speaking out against our spiritual leaders. In the New Testament, Paul writes to Timothy to be careful with the way that we speak to and about our spiritual leaders. And I think the application to us today is to be very careful on how we speak of our pastors, men and elders, and men who are called to lead us, to guide us in our spiritual walk with God. We need to support them, we need to encourage them, we need to pray for them. We also need to pray for all the leaders that God has appointed to us and be careful how we speak of them and for them. And sometimes that's a really difficult thing to do. We look at our government leaders and we look at the situation where we're not able to be in school and we grumble and complain. And we have to recognize that God has called these men and women to lead us as well, instead of grumbling and complaining. Let's follow the example of Moses and his meekness, and Jesus and his meekness, careful in how we speak and pray for them. All right, that's our lesson for the day. Have a good day.